Hello, I'm Thomas Carruthers.
I'm Will Leggetter.
And today we have a return guest for our third time. Third time's the charm. Yeah. We need to start tallying who's guested most.
Well, our most loyal guests.
And it can be like Alec Baldwin and Steve Martin when they fight.
If I get the 10th stamp, do I get something for free?
I'd say you get to pick a film, but
no, because we do that.
We do that. But also, you're not on films that you don't like. You're on movies. That's the reason why you're here. Yeah, no, I'll do that. That's just another little job.
We might have merch by then, though. You can get like a free hat.
Free?
I do love a hat.
I don't know where I sit on hats.
You put them on the head, surely.
I was going to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. I'm proud of that one.
Fedora, sure.
I've got a fedora.
So, Nathan, why don't you tell us what today's film is and why you're here?
Yes, so today's film is the 1967 classic, The Graduate.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Listen, everybody, I want you all to be quiet. I've got Ben's college yearbook here, and I just want to read you some of the wonderful things about Ben.
Hey, there's the award-winning scholar.
We're all very proud of you, Ben.
How are you, track star?
What are you going to do now?
I was going to go upstairs for a minute.
Oh, I meant with your future. Your life.
Well, that's a little hard to say.
Because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me. Aren't you?
Have you gotten us a room yet?
I haven't, no.
Do you want to? I'll get undressed now. Is that all right?
Sure. Shall I just stand here? I don't know what you want me to do.
Why don't you watch?
Oh, sure, thank you.
Starring Dustin Hoffman. But I was very fortunate enough to be in the play in my time at Sheffield University of The Graduate, which was a great fun play to be in. It was the first ever play I've done, I think, properly. Mm-hmm. So it was a good experience. And that's why I'm here today.
Benjamin, are you having an affair with someone?
I do think you should know the consequences of what you've done. I do think you should know that my wife and I are getting a divorce soon.
What happened between Mrs. Robinson and me was nothing. It didn't mean anything.
Well, that's not saying much for my wife.
The point is, I don't love your wife, I love your daughters, sir.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair?
I want to ask you a question and then I'm going.
Come in.
No, I want to know why you're here in Berkeley. Is it because I'm here?
Well, look, I love you.
Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
Will you marry me? Are we getting married tomorrow?
Why don't you just drag me off if you want to marry me so much?
You can't stop me from seeing her, Mrs. Robinson. I'll find her.
Sorry we won't be able to invite you to the wedding, Benjamin, but the arrangements have been so rushed.
Oh, Jesus, God. No.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair?
Indeed. And now it's from the Charles Webb book, which have either of you read?
No.
I've not. No.
I have read it. It's a startlingly faithful adaptation.
Ooh.
It's a bit like reading the script, really. A lot of the dialogue is still present. There's obviously a lot more. But there's not long stretches of descriptions and stuff as you get with the book. So it does kind of feel like you're reading a script, and it's easily read. You can fly through it. So Calder Willingham, who gets a credit for screenplay, but isn't actually the script that they end up using. Then it gets passed over to Buck Henry, who is in the film as the receptionist at the Taft Hotel. Sneaky favourite, best part, really. And him, Nichols. I mean, we'll talk about some of the casting later in fun facts, but to cut a long story short, it's a classic. It wins 5. Virginia Woolf won 5 Oscars. It wins Nichols. Yeah, it wins Nichols his directing Oscar, and it's just an all-round classic. It's in my top 10. I think it's number 8. I can't remember. Is it number 8? It's number 8. I've always adored it. It's eminently rewatchable. I think it's one of the funniest films ever. It still makes me laugh to this day. I watched it again this morning, and I laughed at all the old jokes. Just again. Will, what's your relationship with The Graduate?
I love this film. I'm gonna have to play around with my rankings as well because I've forgotten how much I like The Graduate. I've not watched it in yonks. It must have been college. I watched it last. Because obviously I knew about it when they did it. It was like Freshers Week, wasn't it? When I came up.
It was really early. It was week 3.
Yeah, because I would have loved to be part of that. I came too late.
Did you see it?
No, I didn't. I should have. I should have gone to see The Graduate.
Some friend.
But yeah, no, I love it. It's very funny. That's the best thing about it. It's one of those films where I do laugh out loud, and you don't expect it.
I was going to the toilet. I was on a schedule or whatever. I checked how long was left. I knew sort of how long was left, but I wanted an exact, and it was they just had sex, and for the first time, and I was so shocked that it had been 40 minutes. I think we can talk about. I wouldn't change a thing really. I mean, I've got changes, but the structure and whatever, the pacing or whatever when it comes to the Berkeley stuff. But that first 40 minutes is just unassailable. The seduction, the party, the seduction. I mean, we'll get into this in 10-minute stretch, but the party, the seduction, and the first sex with Mrs. Robinson, even stretching into those back-to-back montages of the affair over the summer, and then you're into the art scene, and it's one of those films where next scene, and you're like, oh, this is just non-stop.
Can I use your phone? Yeah. Hello, who is this?
This is Dr. Smith's answering service.
Is the doctor anywhere?
Well, I'm afraid the doctor can't be reached right now. If you'd like to leave...
I have to know where he is.
Well, you see, the doctor is at his son's wedding, but I'm sure it's over by now. He should be checking in any moment.
Listen to me. I'm Dr. Smith's brother, Reverend Smith, and I'm supposed to perform the ceremony. I just got in from Portland, and I've forgotten what church, you see?
Oh, well, I'm not sure, but you might try the First Presbyterian. That's on Allen Street.
Thank you. Allen Street, where is
it? Yes, it is. I mean, the famous story, I say famous, it's famous between two people. My ex famously thought that they were just getting bored. And when I said, oh, it's just so beautiful and tragic, isn't it? How, they've realized that their lives are never going to be the same, and how maybe this fleet of fantasy is actually going to ruin their lives, and she should have just gone with Carl, and maybe they're definitely not right for each other. And she goes, oh, I thought they were just bored. I thought, no, they're going to be happy. So and then that's a joke in 500 Days of Summer, isn't it? They say it at the start. He goes, his deep, misheld ideals about true love came from an early misreading of the ending of The Graduate. And yeah, so it is I didn't realize it was such a not a polarizing ending, a ambiguous ending. I always thought it was pretty obvious that, you know, it's what happens after any film if the camera kept rolling. You know, what would happen if the camera kept rolling on I can't think of a good example. Footloose. Yeah,
Washed Away. Oh.
Yeah, they all dance. They all dance at the Footloose party, and then
yeah,
what if the camera keeps rolling? Nathan, why don't you kick us off as our guest?
There's a couple of, they're not 10 minutes, but the whole seduction at the start, and the sort of iconic line and the shot through the leg, all that sort of bit is just absolutely classic. So that's a really good stretch of the film.
The famous line, the famous, you know, Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me, isn't what makes that line work. I think people forget that the button of "aren't you" is the gag.
Yeah.
That's the funny.
That you get the payoff of that scene as well, where he just apologizes straight after, and he's groveling at the end. It's great.
That's the most disgusting thing I've ever said, Mrs. Robinson. Please, Ben. Anne Bancroft is astoundingly good in this film. I've recently wrote an essay about the greatest female performances of all time, and in talking about Miss Anne Bancroft as Mrs. Robinson, my opening line is, I think people forget that this is more than a purely sex role. Nobody's going to argue that Anne Bancroft isn't sexy in this film. She's really sexy. She's really beautiful. She's great. And she perfectly works that seductive character of Mrs. Robinson. But there's so much more to it. And that art scene alone, I put that up against anything for me when it comes to performance in the 60s. Yeah. Nathan, your other nominations for 10 Minute Stretch?
The hotel in general, particularly the bit of the reception is
yes.
But
that's my favourite scene.
But in the bedroom as well is really interesting, seeing sort of how nervous Ben is.
Is it his first time?
Very interesting.
No, he said. No, he says he's seen. No,
he says, yeah. Whether he has, I don't know.
I don't think he has. I think it's just there is a. I mean, it is a very strange thing to be doing. It is a whole taboo subject, so that's probably why he's out of his depth, isn't he?
Mm. I think he might be. Who's Ben having sex with? He's a very anxious guy. There's obviously the two trains, isn't there? She probably knows that he has a fling with some college girl or whatever, but she's taunting him, and she's that wry little smile she has when he says, "Wait there," and she starts smiling, and you go, "Oh, this was a plan all along." She's so conniving and manipulative in this film. It's marvelous.
We go on a set, and I did it with Catherine Rossley, quite beautiful girl.
Did you just wash your clothes?
Yes. Sit down, please.
Where did you wash them?
And we rehearse, and Mike wants to do this, I learned later, in a master shot. I couldn't have told you what a master shot was, but the camera was there, and we're here, and then we get on the bed, and it comes over and around, and then it comes over here, and he wants to do 10 pages all in one take, and moving the camera. So maybe he's just working out himself, or he's trying to see, can this guy who's basically just barely been on the stage, can he do movies? Can he, work under these conditions? It's not a few lines and then cut.
Would you like the style?
And both Catherine and I kept screwing up. We were both violently nervous.
I haven't said I was going to marry you yet.
I know that. But I think you will.
And Buck Henry, obviously, and Mike had worked on it, and they, you know, they wanted it word for word. And if we left one word out, or they said that's not a period, that's 3 dots.
Any other nominations, Nathan?
I like the scene with Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, the best scene in the film. I've always said this.
Yeah.
Murray Hamilton. People always say he's the mayor from Jaws. I always think of this scene instead. I always think of this scene. I mean, I say it's the best scene in the film. I think it's definitely my favourite scene in the film. Obviously, that first 40 minutes, but that's not a scene. That's half of the film. But the best, maybe the line that always creeps up on me and always makes me laugh is, "I can see in the dark, you know, I've been here for quite a while." And you know, have I insulted you? Have I done something? Have I done something to you that has insulted you on a personal level? And then also that he's still standing by his wife of like, well, you know, it was nothing more than just shaking hands. And well, that doesn't say much about my wife now, does it? I think it's a scene that also you don't expect is going to happen. I mean, you're obviously swept up in the romance of it all in that Berkeley sequence. And you know that late, you know, there's going to be a confrontation scene of, you know, the parents trying to stop them maybe. But you don't think he's whistling Mrs. Robinson, everything's great. And then he's sat there. And you don't think it's going to be that confrontational. And that also vulnerable on his behalf.
Well.
Benjamin.
Yes.
I'll get undressed now. Is that all right?
Sure. Shall I just stand here? I mean, I don't know what you want me to do.
Why don't you watch?
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Will you bring me a hanger?
What?
A hanger.
Oh, yes.
My sneaky favourite line of the film, did you know I used to be an alcoholic? The nude flashes, just the way that that's edited, presented, the dryness of, don't be afraid, I'm offering myself to you sexually. If you don't want it now, you can have it any time. Just, oh my God. Oh my God. I've never paused it, so but I presume it's covered. The nipples are covered because it's 67. But just those brilliant, and the tan line. What an excellent little choice. My favourite gag in the entire film. Do we know what it is? It's during the reception scene.
Is it him tapping the bell, stopping the bell from being tapped?
That's a close second.
I love that.
Is it the like the register card?
It's him writing down his own name. Yes.
It's the speed at which he whips it away as well. He's like, and just carries on. Yeah. It's brilliant.
And you know what else is great? We don't need a close-up. In Ghost, they have the same gag. I mean, Ghost is a bit more of a broader comedic film, and Whoopi Goldberg's performance is a bit broader. But they do the same gag where she writes down Oda Mae Brown instead of Rita Miller. And Patrick Swayze goes, "No, I'm a ghost." I mean, he doesn't say I'm a ghost, but he goes, "No, Whoopi." I mean, he doesn't call her Whoopi, but he goes, "No." And then she goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," and she rips it up, and we see that it was Oda Mae. But we don't need to see it. It's just, whoop. And then the way that Buck Henry says, "Mr. Gladstone," and he knows, he doesn't know, but he does know. And we can't neglect the fact of how modern this must have felt in 1967. Camera work, the subject matter, the writing.
I didn't realise it was from the 60s. That's.
When did you position this in your head, Rob?
I put it in the 70s, the late 70s.
The credits on their own. The flight,
the title sequence.
Yeah, wonderful Sound of Silence, obviously. Let's talk about Simon and Garfunkel a bit more. Where do we sit? I mean, I'm a huge Simon and Garfunkel fan.
I love Simon.
I know that Will does. Are you a big Simon and Garfunkel fan, Nathan?
Yeah, I do love a lot of their stuff.
Marvelous. So let's talk about best songs then. Will?
Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Awesome. Nathan?
I know it's a bit basic, but I would have to go for the Sound of Silence. It is great.
Yeah.
I'd probably always go America. I think America is beautiful, sweeping, romantic, elegant. One of the best songs ever written. But I also love Mrs. Robinson. Mrs. Robinson is one of those songs that it creeps up on me. But like when it's on, you just go, oh yeah, why isn't this my favourite Simon Garfunkel song? It's just a great, and it's more than just a catchy pop hit. I think it's a lot more. If we're talking sort of deeper cuts, I'm a big fan of Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. I don't know if The Boxer is a deep cut, but I love it.
I was going to say I was a big fan of The Boxer.
Richard Corey. I always liked At the Zoo. I really, really liked the song At the Zoo. And the monkeys stand for liberty, giraffes are insincere. Which Bookends is my favourite Simon Garfunkel album. It's just absolutely flawless.
That's great.
Old Friends.
Hazy Shade of Winter. That's a great album. Well, it's got America in it, of course, that's why you like it.
But it's also got Mrs. Robinson, and it's also got... it's great. My comment is always that Bookends plays like a greatest hits.
We neglected to talk about the scene where it's the raining, and she gets in the car, and he's like, I'm going on a date with Elaine, and then she's like, I'm going to ruin your life. And then he's got to go and see it. And, we just have to explain. He just needs one look. And, it's so good.
And the out of focus.
We brought that up.
The focus. Yeah, the out of focus on Elaine into the focus. Just sensational stuff. Anything else, Will? Anything left from your notes, Nathan?
It was the swimming pool scene, isn't it?
Yes, the scooper, yes.
And we haven't touched on that one. And the fact that it is completely replicated in the B movie.
And it came to mind.
And do you know the bit when he's lying on the pool and what's the character's name in the B? It's like
Barry B. Benson.
Yeah, well, it's basically Benjamin. And they're like, what you
B movie.
It is literally.
You think about the plot of the. Oh my god, the B movie is The Graduate.
The B movie is The Graduate. Have you not noticed that before?
Well, he does want to have sex with Renee Zellweger, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. This
is great.
I want a scene where what's his name? The guy who voices Kronk.
Patrick Warburton.
Yeah,
Patrick. I want to see where Patrick Warburton does the Mr. Robinson scene. He goes, "Do you neglect?" I can't do Patrick Warburton, but I want that full scene. I'm allowed one thing before I die.
He's the best part of that film.
Mrs. Robinson, you lie there and tell me I'm not good enough for your daughter.
Did I say that?
In so many words.
Benjamin, I want to apologize to you if that's the impression you got.
Well, 2 minutes ago you told me I wasn't good enough for your daughter. Now you say you're sorry I got that impression.
I didn't mean it. I don't think you'd be right for each other. But I would never say you weren't as good a person as she is.
You wouldn't?
Of course I wouldn't.
What are you doing?
Well, it's pretty obvious you don't want me around anymore.
Well, look, I was kind of upset there. I'm sorry I said those things.
It's all right. I think I can understand why I'm disgusting to you.
Oh, no. Look, I like you. I wouldn't keep coming here if I didn't like you.
But if it's sickening for you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Very good. Richard Dreyfuss cameo. It's not a cameo, it's his first role. Wonderful.
We love Richard Dreyfuss.
Alternate ending corner. There isn't one.
The play has a different ending.
Oh, shoot! Tell us.
Don't
know why you
so
changed
they
something
run
that's
away
perfect.
to a motel, Ben and Elaine, on the bed, and they're sort of, going to consummate their relationship. And he doesn't really have the first clue what to do with it. And she says that, and she points it out. And so they don't consummate the relationship. They don't have any of the sexy times. They instead separate Cheerios into the different types of Cheerio, and that's how the
in
play
Get
ends.
Out.
Yeah, but that's how the play ends, with them just sorting Cheerios.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure which ending I prefer.
It's quite nice. I mean, there's more to the scene than that.
yeah.
It's a nice. Again, there's a sort of bit of ambiguity to it, and uncertainty as to where the relationship goes from there, kind of thing. It's quite
I think it's just saying out loud what you can infer from those looks.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe it's harder to present on a stage where you're not so close to their faces and you can't see every minute
facial
detail.
expressions. Yeah.
But what can I say?
But there we go. Throw that one in there anyway.
Yeah, true. When Dustin Hoffman showed up at producer Joseph E. Levine's office for a casting interview, Levine mistook him for a window cleaner. So Hoffman, in character, cleaned a window. In character as who? A window cleaner?
It's a noble profession.
Here you go. Dustin Hoffman was already set to play a role in Mel Brooks's The Producers in 1967.
Oh.
He was supposed to play Franz Liebkind when the opportunity to audition for this movie came up. Deferentially, Hoffman asked Brooks's permission to audition for the part in the other film. So Hoffman was cast, and Brooks was quite annoyed. And he was sort of confident that Hoffman would be unsuitable for the role. And he eventually got it, and he was a bit angry. But somebody calmed him down. Do you know who calmed him down?
Gene Wilder.
No, his wife, Anne Bancroft. Yes, Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft, one of my favourite celebrity couples.
Oh,
I have watched the montage of them. There's a montage called, I can't remember what it's called. It's just about type in Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft and you'll find it. And I've watched that just too many times. I've always adored them. And there's faith for the quietly ugly, funny guy that they can get Anne Bancroft.
Where's that guy? What's he doing? Take care of him.
He's too late.
Get him. Get him. Stop.
According to Dustin Hoffman at New York University's Tisch of the School's graduation, his friend and former roommate, Gene Hackman, was cast as Mr. Robinson. However, Hackman was fired after the first week of rehearsals. Nichols decided he was too young for the role. In actuality, he was only a year older than Anne Bancroft, who was playing his wife, but for whatever reason, it wasn't working. In his review, Roger Ebert called the songs by Simon and Garfunkel unmemorable. He joked about it years later. So, do you know the Mrs. Roosevelt story?
No.
So, they needed another song for the film. And Paul Simon started playing Mike Nichols this song, Mrs. Roosevelt. And he said, "There, we'll use it. Call it Mrs. Robinson. We'll have it." And that's how one of Paul Simon's greatest songs ever was made. So that's why it's all the lyrics to the president and, all that stuff. Sources vary on precisely what the truth is about the possibility of Doris Day playing Mrs. Robinson. One rumour says the property was acquired with her in mind as Mrs. Robinson, and that Lawrence Truman, Terman, the producer, sent the novel to her manager and husband, Martin Melcher, wanting to know their opinion of Day in the role. But Melcher was so disgusted by the thought that he refused to even mention it. Doris Day wrote in her 1975 memoir, which is probably more accurate, that she was actually offered the role, but could not see... this is her talking. "I could not see myself rolling around in the sheets with a young man half my age whom I'd seduced." Sally Field was screen tested for the role of Elaine. Nice little alternate reality there. I think Catherine Ross is perfect. Here's some other considerations for Mrs. Robinson. Joan Crawford. Lauren Bacall. I can see Lauren Bacall. Angela Lansbury. I can't really see Angela Lansbury.
No.
And Audrey Hepburn. Similarly, very...
I can see that.
You can see Audrey Hepburn?
More than Angela Lansbury.
Yeah. You probably just ruined it with Angela. And anything's better. Angela Lansbury.
No, Hepburn's far too... She's not sexy enough. Audrey Hepburn is one of the most beautiful women ever, but I don't think she has there's a specific... I just don't think I've ever... I've watched an abundance of Audrey Hepburn films, and I don't think I've ever seen the sexy, seductive vein that we have for Mrs. Robinson. I think she's always got, no matter what the film, she's always got the air of the Roman holiday princess about her. I don't think she's ever... I would believe her seducing anybody who's going to turn down Audrey Hepburn, but I don't think I could believe her with the lines in this film. That's just me. When the film was first released in Portugal, it was cut to end with Ben behind the glass at the church watching Elaine getting married. The ruling military regime at the time did this to preserve Catholic doctrine.
How bizarre.
That's an odd ending. It just ends with him watching them kiss, and then that's it. Did you know that in the book ends...
Like the Wicker Man.
Elaine! My famous impression of Catherine Ross's scream. But the book ends... He stops them before they say "I do." Whereas obviously in the film, they're married. And, it's too late. Which do we... And that's a lot bleaker.
I like it that they're already married.
I like it, yeah. Because now they have to go through a divorce procedure.
That's 2 affairs he's had.
What a dog. Tom's big question. Do Ben and Elaine stay together?
I think no.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you there.
That's why the ending works. And they're not just bored. Why did Mrs. Robinson pick Ben?
I think she liked his vulnerability, maybe.
Yeah.
It's Dustin Hoffman as well.
Yeah, he's supposed to be...
he looks good in the film. He's a handsome guy. He's a bit
young.
He
scrubs up. He's
a bit toned on that.
Very sort of successful in terms of, he's done a good degree or whatever. And
nice car. Is there any world where Elaine stays with Ben after finding out about Mrs. Robinson?
No.
Maybe.
Is there any world where Elaine lets Ben kiss her so soon after him taking her to a strip club?
No. It's a sort of going back to the Elaine and Mrs. Robinson conflict. It's one of those things where if it were to be ever resolved, it would have to be like, right, we're going to have to move away, start a new life, like family confrontations, any of that. It would just be so awkward.
Yes, it definitely would be awkward. Who believes the rape? Does anybody believe the rape? Or does everybody secretly know that it was a full-blown affair? Does Mr. Robinson actually think...
Well, Mr. Robinson's sort of approach to the whole thing is as if, as if it's happened before. Like, this is in her nature.
They don't really press charges or anything, do they? You know,
No. But also they've got, it's the 1967. It's 1967. So you've got the angle of it would be a bit of a disgrace, sort of angle. I don't think anybody believes.
Ben moves away, doesn't he? So.
Well, no, Elaine believes her, doesn't she? Until, but literally all she has to hear is the truth for her to realise that it's a complete lie. Rough stuff. Synopsis of a sequel. There is the funny gag in The Player, where Buck Henry has a cameo and he pictures a sequel to The Graduate, where Ben and Elaine are living together and they have to start caring for Mrs. Robinson after she has a stroke. I don't know what a sequel to The Graduate would look like. There is the book, Night School, which I own, but I haven't read yet. And it oddly has a very similar premise to the joke in The Player. So I don't know whether Charles Webb was conscious of that. Who knows? And so we end The Graduate. Nathan, any final thoughts on this seminal film?
Fantastic film, really, isn't it? It's a timeless piece of cinematography.
The Graduate.
Da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-da.